Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This time we'll be taking a look at the GHB Tempest Trial tier list update with Rhys and Lorenz. There's not much to really say about those two, but, well, I mean, it's just going to be a quick video really. The only video I have left after this is the Tempest Trial, Sacred Seal tier list update. This one I'll wait and try to relax a bit because, I mean, I've done the banner review, the refined tier list update, and now this. This, by the way, should have come out yesterday, but I felt actually sick, so I decided to just not. And, well, here I am, so that's why it's a bit late. Sorry about that, it's just health and all. But, yeah. Let's get started, eh? So first off, I'll talk about Rhys. I'll talk about them chronologically because neither of them are really, like, game-breaking. I mean, technically you can say Lorenz is better than Rhys, purely because, well, there's so many 3 to 4 star healers at this point, and then Leno's going to be added to the pile, literally next banner, so there's that. And Lena most likely will have a stat line extremely similar to Rhys, if not for the fact that she's going to have potentially less attack but more speed, as well as less HP. Like, wow, dude, really going far with these. It's not exactly interesting as a result, but yeah. When it comes down to Rhys, there's really two things to keep in mind. Brazen Attack Res, still not in the pool for no fucking reason. Or rather, not in the 3 to 4 star pool, I mean, which I have no idea why. Drive Rest is the 4 star, I guess they forgot Soleil exists and has been a 4 star since the start of Book 2, but whatever. As far as this character is concerned, not very much a good unit by himself, but the weapon is the first actual oppressive weapon a healer can have to become an actual powerhouse. Let me explain. This weapon basically does -5 attack and speed. Yes, it can work as a support weapon, this very much is the case, and works pretty well on him actually, for a matter of fact. But the idea with this weapon is that it effectively is like a stronger low attack speed in terms of status of stat reduction for the unit that uses it. Essentially, it's giving you 5 speed, def, and res to the unit that's using it. As long as the healer has a lot of attack, you can make it work. Like, for example, if Lachesis ever had a Resplendent, I ended up checking this, like, literally today, because I was talking on my Discord, and I was kind of curious. It's possible to make Lachesis with Resplendent and 10 flowers, hit 65 attack, 50 speed, and then like over 50 def and res. Like, the absolute ridiculous amount of stats you can get out of this is ridiculous. Again, like, it's 15 points of stats you're giving to your unit for free. And the best part about this is it's not like just like how a lull function, which only like helps yourself and no one else. You can also use this to help other units. The problem with that is obviously the same as every other debuff-based weapon with like within 2 space. The problem is that it really only helps your melee allies, because if they're ranged, they're just going to be out of the range of the palm staff. So who the hell gives a goddamn shit? Nobody. So, you know, that's just kind of how it is, right? But if you're dealing with a melee unit, you're basically giving 5 speed def res to your unit that you're supporting, which is insane. Definitely will be a stuff I'm gonna give on Lachesis and potentially on other healers that I might want to work on, like Mercedes. This is just a really, really good weapon. Sadly, when it comes down to the unit itself, well, let's talk about the first merge really quickly. He gets HP attack res, cool. Kinda wish it would have been attack and speed, but, well, with that 36 res it was kind of a given, wasn't it? Oh well, either way, it's decent. Nothing amazing. But, let's talk about comparison, eh? I really only have one unit here. But just know a lot of unit can be compared to Rhys. And a lot of them to varying degree, but for the most part, the only thing Rhys really has is the fact that he has a really fat stack of res and nothing else. When it comes out to attack, he gets basically tied or beaten by Emrin, Mercedes, and like also I believe Brady. They all end up with basically more attack, more speed, about the same defense. HP is not that far off. And like when it comes down to res, well, Rhys kind of just beat them to a pulp, but that's kind of like the only thing he's got going for himself, which isn't really good. Like if I'm looking at Amaran, for example, right, I can think, oh, hey, if Speed Def Solo ever becomes a seal, I'm basically looking at 34 Def 35 res. Had buff, that's 40-41. Had Palm Staff, that's 45-46, sorry. Which, I mean, at that point, you have a unit that's extremely bulky, right? And that's with me, like, putting literally no effort. Obviously, at that point, you might also want to consider, you know, running, instead of Speed Def Solo, Attack Def Solo, I should say. And then, when it comes down to speed, just have Palm Staff and a buff, you're already at 50 speed, so who cares, right? But... see, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the problem with Rhys. He has too much res. He's dummy thick in res, but has no defense. So it's kind of really difficult to catch up the def into his res. Unlike something like Emrin, unlike something like Brady, unlike something like Mercedes, and just about any healer. Which is kind of the problem. You see, because it's the type of unit you really wish was not this difficult to work with, but it is. So you're basically comparing 3 to 4 star unit that does this job better for cheaper. 2,700 Grails. That's like 7 to 8 months of AR. It's not worth it. It's simply not worth it. So yeah. As when it comes on to build, am I going to do any? No, I'm not, because there's just no point. Again, the reason why I do build showcase for units is when they actually have something going for them that is not completely overtaken by a 3 to 4 star or another Grail unit. Sadly, what can I say? Rhys very much falls into that problem of just being obsolete. So now we'll move on to Lorenz. Which also, I believe this is the wrong version of this. Hold up. There we go. So Lorenz, he comes down with a weapon that's actually pretty decent. 5 attack res, heals yourself at the start of, at the end of the first combat. Again, this is not like only working for one fight and that's it. I'll repeat this because I had comment on my videos of people who actually did not realize me saying this, but this is a once per phase effect, okay? Every phase it resets and you can use it again. It's basically the first fight of every phase it functions. Turn 1, player phase, it works once. Turn 1, enemy phase, it works once. Turn 2, player phase, it works again another time. It just resets itself at the start of every new phase. That's just how it is, okay? So it's not as bad as people seem to think. But then again, I can't really fault anyone because it's basic. This is probably the most butchered description of a skill I've ever seen. Look. I don't consider myself to be like the most knowledgeable dude when it comes down to how to write something, okay? After all, English is not my first language to begin with. But I've played enough Yu-Gi-Oh! To understand that this type of wording would be absolutely trash for the type of game that this is. Just get better at this, please. Like, English is not my first language, and I have so many problems just with the way it was written. I remember when the first time these types of weapons were basically like described, shown to people. And you want to know the worst part about it? The worst part about it is that just about everyone thought that it was gonna be shit. And I was like, this can't be right. And then I waited for the weapon, and hey, it wasn't right. So yes, in general, if you find that a weapon looks to be too shit, wait until you can play around with it. That's just what I would say, because IS and good writing, it does not really go hand in hand when it comes down to like explaining how something works. It makes me think like quick repose in tree houses. What it does is basically give you a follow-up and block the enemy follow-up, from what I understand, for literally no reason. It basically turned the tide of battle into you having the 5 more speed than the enemy. That's it. Which, how? How do you... How? But that's a different topic. Anyway, when it comes down to Lorenz, his stat line seems very unimpressive, and really it isn't. But at the same time it is. The problem that he runs into is just the fact that he has a very strong competition when it comes down to the first merge, because let's be honest, it's outside of Conch Bouquet, or Coochie Bouquet as I like to call it, there's not much to it. Fire Boost in 2020 is still a meme, just like when it was first released. Even Res Wave is still pointless. Wave skills are not very good. They have never been really good because they are just inconsistent buffs. But oh well, it's a thing, I guess. And Pivot on a mage is looks about as good as his haircut. But let's move on to his first merge. His first merge is actually lucky enough to be HP attack speed. That's actually pretty huge for Lorenz, because his speed is fairly iffy but very workable. His attack is okay, but definitely needed work, so it's pretty decent overall. He's kind of like a jack of all trade. The problem that he has is that the very last red mage we got was Iago, a unit that has a pref. It's already there. You're not really much starting to a good... You're pretty much not starting off the right part. What? On the right foot, I guess would be the best term. But then, there's also Ray. So, alright, let me just get the Ray-Lorenz comparison out of the way. Alto. Obviously a unit that has stats pretty well spread out like this. You'd think an Alto would be the way to go, right? Not really. Keep in mind, Fox has 12. Fox Tomes have 12 might. Okay, Altome starts at 10 might, but with the refine jumps to 11. Not with an attack refine. Attack refine jumps to 12. Hermit Tome is 14 might. So already there from the get-go, you're basically starting with 3 less attack. So as a result, what ends up happening is that Lorenz is at 49 attack, Ray is at 52. Speed are very similar. Def are very similar. Res are very similar. The only thing you really have is HP, which I guess is good to deal with sudden panic. But the thing is, there's not really a moment you're going to use either of them where sudden panic will be a problem. As far as Altome is concerned, because, look, if you're going to use Ray, if you're going to use Lorenz, as an Altome, he's not going to be part of your main team, okay? Not in Arena, not in Arena Assault, he's going to be part as a backup of Arena Assault. Or you're going to be using him in more like PVM scenario, and he's never going to be using AR, okay? So sudden panic is not as common as a result, so obviously it's not as dangerous. And even if, you know, it happens, Lorenz having 53 HP, that's not gonna save you. It's not gonna save you. It's just going to be about the same as 42 HP. Because at that point you're going to be doing PVM, right? And in PVM, HPs or really any value, attack, speed, HP, and so on, they tend to be overblown because that's the only way to really have difficulty in this game, apparently. Go figure. So, yeah, I mean, your 53 HP versus that 60 HP sudden panic dude, you're not going anywhere with this, okay? So it's kind of iffy. As a result, there's not much of a time where Lorenz would be better as an Altom than Ray. The attack is really the main thing. Lorenz struggles to kill already. Ray also to some extent, but less so than Lorenz. Therefore, Ray would be the option you pick. And Ray is also absolutely free. Lorenz is 2,700 grails. If you talk about a Fuckstone, Iago is overall better. Because when it comes down to it, the bulk is very similar, but it's not even. That's the best part. Yes, you can go Res Plus and have 37 Res, 30 Def when it comes down to Lorenz. And as a result, you have one less defense and one less Res with the same results, so you're still behind overall. The idea, though, is that Iago can just run an impact skill a lot better. Again, if you run a res refine instead of a def refine to widen the gap, so a sturdy impact is more useful, you're still behind by 1 def and res, okay? But that's not the part where it gets really bad. The part where it gets really bad is the part where Iago has 6 more attack points. So not only is he better defensively, he's better in attack. The only thing that Lorenz really has is a more consistent speed. But really, all that means, okay, is that you need a lower merge to make Lorenz work. Iago will still work fantastically, but at lower merges, he's a bit more inconsistent. The second you go into higher merges, however, that problem disappears. That problem just flat out disappears. My video of Iago is a good example of how good Iago can be with a Fuckstone, and if you don't believe me, just watch that video. You'll get a good idea as to why I say Iago is so good. Yeah, overall I'd say Iago is overall better. But on top of this, I'm just comparing Fuckstone sets here. Okay? On top of this, Iago also has his own pref. Iago's tome, for some reason, for better or for worse. That tome essentially, basically, from what I remember, it's been a while. Essentially, it basically alternates between requiring you to be far away or close to your allies. But see, here's the thing: you can just say screw that. And make so that, hey, if they're far away, they get screwed. If they're close, they get screwed, because sudden panic is very much a skill you can have. So basically, one of the 2 turns, regardless of the position of the map, they're going to get screwed in one way or another. And that's huge. That actually gives a lot of leeway for Iago. Obviously, the other one, it only works for close by allies, which makes it a bit more awkward to work with, but he's still pretty dangerous as a result. And again, his stat line is extremely annoying to get around, so it's not like you got rid of that issue. That doesn't mean you're going to be exactly fine either. So that makes him really annoying to face. I'd say more annoying to face than a Versa overall. But yeah, that's about mostly what I want to say. Iago is just a really annoying unit to deal with, whereas Lorenz kind of has nothing to his name. So, moving on to builds. Alright, there's another set I want to talk about after this, but that one requires his base weapon. Still, let's talk about this, yeah? So, set on the left is using Sturdy Impact with Speed Res Solo. The idea is that Speed Res Solo plus Fuckstone makes your speed consistent enough. The reason why I'm even showcasing builds is because I do think he is a bit more consistent than Iago when it comes down to the Fox set. So that's why I wanted to at least talk about it to some extent. But yes, Fox Dome plus Speed Res Solo lets him hit 52 speed, which is pretty solid. As far as attack is concerned, you hit 55, 59 because of Fox Dome, 65 because 30 impact, 68 because low attack res, and 72 because joint drive attack. Okay, not bad. 72, 52. Now, let's see about defense and res. Def jumps up to 52. Res, well, actually no. 42, 52, 55. 55 defense. And res jumps up to... Wait, 40, yeah, 55. 39, 42, 48, 52. Yeah, 52. So 55 defense, 52 res. Yeah, you end up with a unit that's fairly consistent in terms of bulk, hits pretty hard and is really quick, and yeah, that makes him pretty decent overall. The Owl Tome is also not so bad. It's enemy phase mostly, which is really the main issue I have with it. Obviously, I'm going to consider 2 people because that's what you're typically able to pull off. 3 people is not exactly consistent and should never be considered when considering an Owl Tome. It should be 1 or 2, never more. And, yeah. So, when it comes down to this, you're basically looking at Owl Tome giving 4 in Def and Res, Def Res Bond giving another 5, so you're at 47 defense and 48 res. Not so bad, right? When it comes down to speed, you're at 50 speed because joint drive speed and Owl Tome. And attack-wise, you are at 58 attack. This is the problem. Still, Special Spiral can allow you to just get hit proc Iceberg. In which case, hey, great. You're basically looking at 24 damage in a proc, which is really solid for very obvious reasons. So it's pretty okay. The other set is the Kuchibuke. If you use this instead of Speed Res Solo, you know, you're going to get attack and res. Obviously, if you're going to do something like that for a multi-phase set, you know, attack def solo, probably the way to go. And secondly, if you're going to use this, wait until attack speed solo is a seal, because then you can actually push your attack more, and you'll be good with multi-phase purpose. You'll be good on enemy phase and on player phase. The problem with that, however, is that while you can do this, right? While you can do this, you lose close counter, so melee units are very much a danger, even now. So, that's really it, though. For the most part, it could work pretty well, but it just doesn't exist. So, that's why I did not really mention it too much. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about Lorenz. Like I said, both of these units are very... they don't really have much to their names. But, still, gotta cover them. And, yeah, let's move on to the tier list itself. So, as I did say on the last video for the GHB Tempest Trial tier list update, I did mention that Gangrel will upgrade to S+, and there he is. Honestly, before I really recorded the video, I was like on the fence. After I was done recording it, I was like, I'm gonna let people like talk about it, but I was probably going to move it to S+ regardless. But most people definitely agreed that S+ tier was basically the way to go. As far as the other one, obviously Berkut went from A- to A+. His pref is very one-note. Very one-note, very boring, but it does get the job done. Very much a good one-off to deal with certain specific units such as Shannon and Larcey. As for Rhys, he is an A-, surprising no one. And again, I'm going to mention this because people don't always understand how I rank things. Lorenz and Rhys are both basically units that are completely outclassed. The difference is that Rhys is outclassed by 3 units, 3 to 4 star units, and Lorenz is outclassed by Iago, mostly. So, as a result, Iago is another unit that is done with Grails. So, when you're outclassed by a unit that costs Grails to begin with, it's easier for me to just be like, okay, so he's an S+, how much lower should Lorenz be? You know? When it comes down to Rhys, however, he's beaten by 3 to 4 stars. So I can't really be like, oh, I'm gonna put him in A+. Because at that point, a 3 to 4 star unit can do the same job for relatively a lot cheaper. Whereas when you're comparing Grail units to a Grail unit, I mean, obviously, if one is completely better, they should be higher than the other. But not to a point that's really ridiculously different. And this is kind of where we are. Obviously, Ray beats him in the Altom set, but that's really the only thing Ray has. Ray is a great unit as far as Altom is concerned because Blade Tomes can do shit to him. What his weapon do is dull ranged. If you are a Blade Tome, you cannot buff against him, so your Blade Tome is worthless against him. That's great, and he has a good stat line overall, works really well with an Altom weapon. It's just, you know, it's really only good from the point of view of an Altom, and Lorenz is good with a variety of things, which is what makes him fairly solid overall. And also the Kuchibuke. He's the only one that can really use it as well. Iago would not be able to use it nearly as well, at least in my opinion. Even though to some extent you could say he can. The main thing is that when your stats are so close to one another, it's a lot easier to work with. But yeah, not much else to say here. Rhys, really, if you are investing in a staff unit, give Rhys's staff to said staff unit, because Palm staff is really good. But as far as the unit goes, pretty underwhelming. Lorenz is okay. It's just Iago does it absolutely better. Our Berkut got a good buff with his weapon. It's nothing amazing or game-breaking, but still pretty decent. And Gangrel is an absolute beast. If you don't understand why he is this high, just watch my video I've made on Gangrel. Again, pretty much went in depth with the character, so there's really not much else to add in terms of the unit itself. I was pretty thorough with this character, and also, you know, was really glad to see a fan favorite actually not shafted as far as GHBs are concerned. Boy, that was nice. That was a good feeling, you know. Because before that, like the only unit I was genuinely super happy with the way it turned out, outside of obviously Minerva, but that one came out of nowhere. I'm talking about like units I genuinely really like that turned out to be GHBs. The unit that I was the happiest with is Jamke, and then all the way until Gangrel, there was not a single GHB Tempest Trial unit that I've been waiting for a long ass time that was treated well. So imagine my surprise when Gangrel actually got like the king treatment. that was a nice surprise, but yeah. In conclusion, just about as every summer unit we've got, these two are not exactly making a splash, are they? Still, when it comes down to weapons, both of their weapons are pretty decent. Are they like game-breaking? No. Never have been, never will be. But they're pretty decent overall. Well, except Palm Staff. Palm Staff is borderline game-breaking, but we just don't really have good staff units to really abuse it to the extent I wish I could. But that will probably change in like 15 years once we're going to get the Resplendent Lachesis alt that I'm waiting for. God damn, just please get Christina V to voice Lachesis and get Rika Suzuki to draw her, for the love of God. But, minor grapes aside, this was pretty okay. Yeah, not much else to really say here. I guess we're going to get Eremia, like, in a few days. Our first staff GHB. Do I expect her to be treated well? Absolutely not, which is kind of a shame, because Eremia is a pretty interesting character in Mystery of the Emblem, but... you know, as you do. As you do. They don't really try when it comes down to staff units. They don't really try when it comes down to GHB unit. They try more with Tempest Trial unit when they are not like seasonals. Anyway, like for example Brunia. But yeah, I don't have really high expectation. I don't expect to see a pref on her. Already there, that's kind of a red alert. And I expect her to be just very similar to Lena. Just way more like expensive to plus 10 as ever, but yeah. Depressing thoughts aside, I guess I'm gonna see you all in the comments. Have a nice one, everyone, and have a nice rest of the day. See ya.